This is not how I imagined my golden years. I slowly looked around the dining room of the Wagon Villa Acres. Only old people. Real old people. The most depressing thing was that I was one of them. I was only 62, and I didn't feel that old. Actually, I lied. This is not the most depressing part. I'm sitting at a table for four with people I don't know. Across from me is my wife LaRue, who is sitting at another table with her lover. Everyone at the retirement complex was aware of the situation, which made it even worse. I was very careful when I chose Wagon Villa Acres. They had the possibility of constant care, which was not bad, and also did not require large investments. The monthly fee for both of us was over $3,000, but it gave us peace of mind and no fuss. Of course, I never imagined that Jackson Milhouse would ever appear. I lost my appetite again as I watched my wife chatting with Jackson. I've been caring for her for 40 years, and he'll be able to enjoy her in his old age. I mean it in every sense of the word. It's been 2 weeks since LaRue informed me that she had a relationship with Jackson and that she was going to continue. On the same day, she moved all her clothes and personal belongings to his studio apartment. There was a real bedroom in our apartment, but Jackson wasn't in it. I didn't argue with her. I've never argued. What does it mean? Over the years, I've learned that it's much easier to agree with what she wants. It was better than fighting. I put my lunch aside and returned to my apartment. It annoyed me to think that I was paying for her stay here, and Jackson Milhouse was reaping all the benefits. Over the years, I've done my best to make my wife happy in bed, but nothing seems to work out. It turned out that Jackson knew something that I didn't. There was a business card attached to the mirror above the sink in my bathroom, which was given to me by one of the most active bachelors. I took a cold beer and plopped down in my 10-year-old reclining chair, the only piece of furniture in the apartment that was not new. I took 2 big gulps of beer and stared at the gold card in front of me. Berkshire Escort Services, by the hour and by the day. It was ridiculous. What was a 62-year-old man going to do with an escort all day? Damn it, I seriously doubted that I could earn my money in an hour. I finished my beer and reached for the phone. I had no idea what I was going to say or what I was going to do. I think I just wanted to talk to someone. Berkshire Escorts. This is Darlene. Well, I got to this point, and then I froze. My silence was quickly noticed. Berkshire Escorts. Hello. Are you here? Hello. Yes. I'm here. I think it was quite obvious that I was a little nervous. My name is Darlene. I assume you have a question that you would like me to answer? How did you know that? Most of the people who call have questions. So you're not a psychic? Could you tell me your name? Carson. My name is Carson. Do you need to know this? Not really, but it will make it easier for me to talk to you. My friend Dippy gave me your business card. Oh yes. Mr. Burke. Do you also live at Wagon Villa Acres? Yes. Is this a problem? Don't be silly. Why would that be? Dippy told me that you were able to find him a couple of companions and that he was quite happy. Well, that's very nice of him. I'll give him a discount next week. I didn't know what to say, so there was a slight pause in the conversation. Carson? Carson? Are you here? Yes, I'm here. I just don't know what to tell you or what to ask you. Why don't I help you a little? How long will you need company? Well, I think for about an hour or two. I just want to have dinner with someone, maybe in a nice restaurant. I think an hour or two will be enough. Is that all you want? I'm not interested in making love, if that's what you mean. All I need is a pleasant companion for a few hours. It was an unpleasant situation for me, because LaRue was the only woman I had ever been with. Carson, our escort costs $300 an hour. It's a lot of money just to invite a young lady to have dinner with you. Yes, I know. When you say young lady, what age are you talking about? Well, most of our escorts are under 30 years old. I can't do it. I find women under 50 a little annoying. I was hoping for an older lady. Someone mature but stylish. Do you have any suggestions? I'm afraid there aren't many women in this age group working in escort services. I could look for you if you want. Does this mean that it will cost me more than $300 per hour or less? At the moment, I'm not sure. I have your phone number in my caller ID. I'll check and call you back in about an hour. Is that okay with you? It's all right. If you can, could you arrange it tonight, around 7 o'clock? Where were you planning to take the lady? I thought the Black Angus was the best place in town. Does that sound tempting enough? This should do, Carson. Give me an hour. I felt a little better when I hung up the phone. LaRue and Jackson were going to have chicken cutlets with Parmesan for dinner, but I would prefer filet mignon. I spent the next hour going through my wardrobe like a schoolboy. I chose a navy blazer, a gray turtleneck, and brown khaki trousers. I wasn't sure if Darlene would be able to find someone, but it was worth it. I picked up the phone after the third ring. I could have done it faster, but I didn't want to seem overly alarmed. This is Carson. Carson, this is Darlene. I have good news. Your companion will be waiting for you in front of the Sheraton Hotel at 7 o'clock. She's going to be wearing a green hunter dress. Is that okay with you? That sounds great. Maybe I'll come a little earlier, but I don't want to seem too excited. How old is she? Listen, Carson, you don't want to know. You should never ask a woman about her age, however. Your companion is 58 today. I hope you will like it. Are there any other questions? Only one. How do I pay for this? In cash. Bring cash. The next few hours seemed to fly by unnoticed. I have to admit, even thinking about the upcoming evening was exciting. It was just dinner, but it was still romantic. I needed it. There were plenty of women at Wagon Villa Acres who would make great dinner companions, but the thought of sleeping with one of them would make me feel like a slob. If I did that, it would be tantamount to saying that I condoned what my wife was doing to Jackson. I didn't accept that she and Jackson were together, but I couldn't figure out how to get out of a difficult situation and still keep my head up. Of course, nothing could be much worse than my current situation. I might as well enjoy my life working on a solution. I left the house early to have time to take the car to the car wash. It wasn't necessary, but the evening was special. It would have been nice to get a more impressive set of wheels, but I had to settle for what I had. As a result, I ended up in the parking lot of the Sheraton Hotel, watching the entrance. I didn't want to stop before my companion came out, but I didn't want to keep her waiting either. Damn it, I wish I had more experience in this field. I felt like a teenager. She was definitely a stylish lady. The dress fit her well, but it didn't make her look cheap. No one would mistake her for a paid girl. She looked damn good for her 58 years. For a moment, I thought that maybe, just maybe, I should have tried everything to the fullest. No, talking is worthless. There's no way I could have achieved that. Dinner is all. That was all I was capable of today. I drove carefully to the entrance, parked, and walked around to open the door for her. Carson, I suppose? Yes, madam. And what should I call you? Darlene, Carson. Just call me Darlene. A sly smile appeared on her face when she noticed the expression on my face. She was still smiling when I walked around the car and returned to the driver's seat. I don't understand. I thought you were going to invite an escort for me? Yes, but I called Dippy and talked to him for a while. I decided that I was the best choice for this evening. Do you do this regularly? She laughed a little. No. In fact, this is the first time in 6 years that I've been dating a gentleman. Did I look so desperate? No, stupid. You're not desperate, but Dippy said you could use a little cheer. Besides, I haven't had a pleasant evening in a long time. Now stop talking about work. Can I have a lobster? Darlene didn't order the lobster, but instead ordered a small fillet. The evening went exactly as I expected. After dinner, we sat and talked for several hours until the waiters politely asked us to leave. She has never been married and started the escort business when she was still in college. A few years later, she was running her own business and seemed very proud of herself because she was good at what she did. I drove back to the Sheraton Hotel to drop her off, but instead she gave me the local address. It was a small brick house in a very prestigious area. It was strange because most of the houses around her were quite large. There was a for sale sign in the middle of the yard. I walked her to the front door, not knowing what to expect next. Will she invite me in? Should I kiss her? Maybe I should just shake her hand. She solved my dilemma with one of her sweet smiles. I hope your evening went exactly the way you wanted, Carson. I nodded when she held out her hand to me. That'll be $300, please. Okay, I didn't expect this, but I had to, and now I was smiling. I plucked 3 bills from the small stack of hundreds I had brought with me and handed them to her. I don't understand. Have we been together for almost 4 hours? Yes, but it was my choice, not yours. I'll only charge you for the first hour. Is this normal? Of course. It cost twice as much. I watched as she folded 3 bills and stuffed them into her bra, just like in the movies. I think she did it on purpose, just to shock me. Darlene, can we do this again? Are you sure? There was a certain seriousness in her question, which distracted me a little. Of course. I had a wonderful evening. I would do it every night if I could afford it. She laughed again. Carson, why don't you come to my place around 6 o'clock tomorrow evening? I'll cook us something. With pleasure. I turned to leave, but stopped. How much will it cost me? $300, stupid. It always costs $300. At that moment, she took my hand, leaned forward, and kissed me. I didn't expect this, and it was even more exciting. I noticed a slight reaction in the groin area. Maybe I should ask Dippy to get me some blue pills. I got a chance the next morning at breakfast. I was watching LaRue and Jackson, who were sitting at the other end of the dining room, when Dippy pulled up a chair and more or less squeezed his way to our table. He had already eaten, but he still had a cup of coffee in his hand. Carson, old man, how was your evening? Of course, the other three at the table had no idea what he was talking about. Better than expected. He noticed that I was smiling. Much better than expected. I pushed the plate away, picked up the cup, and we went to the coffee pot. Is that all you're going to tell me? Dippy, we don't have anything else to talk about. We had dinner, and that was it. Nothing else. I didn't sleep with her. Well, what the hell did you pay her for? I didn't have an answer that would satisfy him, so I didn't say anything. We sat comfortably in the living room with 2 fresh cups of coffee. Dippy, could you get me some pills? Of course. No problem for $20 apiece. Mildred can take care of you. Mildred? You mean the old lady in the wheelchair? Yes. Her rent ended a few years ago. I do not know where she gets the pills, but she has a steady supply, and she was able to stay here selling them. Isn't free enterprise great? So, Carson, who did she set you up with? I think I already know them all. Just from the way he said it, I realized that he had never been with Darlene. I believed her when she said she hadn't had a client in 6 years. In fact, I think I believed almost everything she told me. Either she was being honest with me, or she was a great liar. On the other hand, the ability to lie convincingly was a great advantage for a woman of her profession. I think her name was Greta. She had an accent, something like Slavic or Russian. I didn't know why I didn't just tell him the truth. While we were sitting and chatting, LaRue and Jackson walked by, still immersed in their own private little world. My wife didn't even look in my direction and didn't notice my presence. No one would ever have guessed that I was married to this woman. I heard Dippy chuckle softly, for which I got an elbow in the ribs. Dinner with Darlene was remembered for a long time. She was not a gourmet cook, but she cooked well. Dippy called that day and insisted that she set him up with Greta. She figured out what the hell was going on pretty quickly and set him up with one of her new girls. She was an aspiring actress and was looking forward to trying out for the role of Dr. Zhivago in the movie Poor Dippy. I think Darlene appreciated the fact that I didn't tell Dippy her name. The evening ended too early, and I got another kiss as I was leaving, right after I gave her another $300. The next evening we went to eat sushi. I knew I liked ordering, but she knew how to do it in Japanese. She was an amazing woman, and I wanted to spend as much time with her as possible. The only problem was that I was married, and I didn't know how long I would be able to pay the damn $300. We always spent more than an hour together, but it always cost the same. I couldn't figure it out and wasn't going to ask. The situation escalated that weekend when my daughter Sylvia came to visit me. She lived about an hour away, but she only came 3 or 4 times a year. This visit was slightly different from the previous ones. I saw Sylvia when she arrived. As always, she left her husband Barry and 2 children at home. Instead of going to our apartment, which has now become mine, Sylvia went straight to the apartment where Jackson and her mother were staying. She stayed with them for more than 2 hours. They all left the apartment and wandered around the complex for about an hour, just chatting and laughing. Finally, I noticed that my daughter looked at her watch and said something to her mother before returning to the main building of the complex. I had no desire to talk to her at that moment, so I slipped out of the back of the building. 5 minutes later, I watched her car pull out of the parking lot, heading back to her happy home. I was sad because Sylvia and I have always been close. At least, that's what I thought. LaRue and Jackson were still sitting by the carp pond like a pair of lovebirds. I spent that night with Darlene. I was pleased that she was waiting for me to make the first move, and I was delighted that she readily accepted my advances. I was also glad that I gave $100 to Mildred. Then I got the bad news. Darlene sold her house. She also sold her business to several long-serving young girls who had saved up money to buy out her share. In fact, she had a master's degree in business administration, and with it the ability to manipulate investments to get the most out of them. She was not only wealthy, but also incredibly rich. Over the past year, she has had a completely renovated house that she bought in Merida, Mexico. Now the house was completed, and she was ready to move in. By that time, I knew her well enough to know that she would not approach me. I had no idea what I was going to do, but I had to ask, "Darlene, is there any way I can go with you?" She answered not with words, but with a smile and a hug. This woman knew many men, and I was completely at a loss as to how I became the one she decided to stay with. I was flattered, of course, but still confused. I decided not to question her motives, but to accept them. "Carson, I think we can sort this out if you want to. I suppose I'll have to get a divorce?" "Oh, no way. You're going to lose half of everything you have. Just let me take care of everything for you. We're leaving in 10 days. Are you sure you want to do this?" "Oh, yes, I'm sure. By the way, where the hell is this Merida?" I was busy the next week. Fortunately, my passport was in order. Darlene got the paperwork done so I could resell my apartment at Wagon Villa Acres. It wasn't much money, but I got back 80% of the original purchase price. Darlene opened a bank account for me at Citibank, which operates in Merida under the name Banamex. She insisted that I would have enough money to live comfortably, especially since I would not have to pay rent or utilities. The money from the sale of my apartment was used to open an account. Then the money was transferred from the current and savings accounts. My retirement package included an annuity account that was open to protect my assets. Fortunately, Darlene had people who were more than willing to buy an annuity for a fixed amount. I saw an advertisement on TV in which people were shouting, "This is my money, and I want it now." And I've always wondered if that's true. As a result, I received 82% of the amount in the account. I no longer received monthly payments, but I did have a decent amount of cash. I transferred almost $800,000 to my Citibank account. I didn't have any problems selling the Honda. I put this money in my pocket for pocket expenses. By that time, Darlene had opened an account for me at Banamex in Merida. I could transfer money from my Citibank account at any time, but I needed a Banamex account so that I could automatically receive my Social Security check. A trip to the local Social Security office simplified the task, but it still caused a lot of trouble. The last few days before I left, I spent all my time at Darlene's. Dippy told me that LaRue hadn't noticed my absence. Of course not. I gave Dippy my HD TV. I no longer made payments to Wagon Villa Acres. Of course, this also meant that LaRue would not receive any money. From now on, Jackson Millhouse will pay for himself. It is difficult to describe what the houses in Merida look like. It's more like a village in Spain or Italy. All the houses are made in pastel colors and tightly pressed against each other. From the outside, they are quite simple and uncomplicated, but inside they are extremely refined. In the blink of an eye, Darlene and I settled into our new home. I felt like a gigolo because she was paying all the expenses. I tried to make up for it by buying her small gifts until she strongly told me to stop. The world was right. Everything was fine, and then one day, 6 months later, Sylvia showed up. Darlene invited my daughter to her house, and then, excusing herself, went to the market. I was left alone with my only child, with whom I had no desire to talk. "Dad, what the hell are you doing here? You have to come home." I could not find what to say to such a beginning. I sat down and motioned for her to do the same. "Can you be more specific?" Sylvia looked a little upset, and we hadn't even started yet. "You left without telling anyone and took everything with you." "Yes. So what? What about your wife? What about her?" "I asked her to come with me, and she said she wanted to stay with Jackson." I lied, but Sylvia didn't know that. There was no way she could prove or disprove what I said. "But you took everything, all the cash and the retirement account. What should she do now? She seemed to be doing well when I left. In fact, she didn't want anything to do with me. Why are you here now? You can't just leave her. She's your wife." The last time you came to Wagon Villa Acres, before I left, you spent 3 hours with Jackson and your mother and didn't spend any time with me. Why? I tried to find you, but you weren't in your apartment. You tried to find me after 3 hours. Who was I? An afterthought? Some kind of commitment? Don't be so dramatic. Mom was happy with Jackson. She wanted me to get to know him better. Great. Let him take care of her. You know, of course, that she slept with him in his apartment? Yes. She said you don't want to share a bed with her anymore. Did you really believe that? What do you want, Sylvia? Why did you spend so much effort to find me and then come here? I'm not going back. I'm not going to let her poke me in the face with her infidelity. It was humiliating. And if you don't understand that, you need help. Barry and I can no longer afford to pay for her stay at the Wagon Villa Acres. Her Social Security does not cover even half of the expenses, and they will not allow her to remain without full payment. What about old Jackson? I thought he was going to help her. Jackson Millhouse was transferred to the Alzheimer's department 3 months ago. The rules do not allow the mother to stay with him in the ward, and we cannot afford to keep her in the ward alone. Wait. Are you saying that you want me to give her money so that she can continue to live at Wagon Villa Acres and be near her lover? Dad, she's comfortable there. She wants to stay there because it's a safe and familiar place. Bullshit. She wants to stay there to be by his side, even if he probably doesn't know who the hell she is anymore. You're crazy if you think I'm going to let her use me for something like that. You're being unfair. Why don't you let her live with you? She can sit with you and all that stuff. You have a big enough house. We offered. She refused us. She wants to stay at Wagon Villa Acres. I slowly got up from my chair and headed for the hallway. As I took my hat off the hanger by the door, I looked at my daughter. She had traveled more than 2,000 kilometers in vain. Her mother cuckolded me, and now my daughter was trying to make me feel guilty for not accepting the humiliation. I'm going to the market. When you leave, close the door. I knew exactly where I could find Darlene. I never found out what motivated Laura to do what she did. I don't care about that anymore. I am happy in my Adobe Fazenda. End.